This is John Bolton. He's actually a neocon, I would call him, and a major hawk, very warish. Now, actually, I am major hawkish too, but there's a difference between the way I think and a lot of these people think that just call for war. Because I personally get very, very annoyed that our military really doesn't have the right equipment, specifically like for the last 15 years or so. They could have easily changed the rifle out to the 6.5 Grendel, which is far superior at a minimal cost, hardly any cost. It's basically a barrel change and magazine modifications, and the ammunition is very readily made. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's easy to do. But we have a lot of bureaucrats that are more interested in playing golf, including the ones that are in green uniforms. I hate their guts. I think they need to have their heads chopped up and chopped off and have their heads thrown in a dumpster, because they don't think and they're not an asset to the U.S. military in any respect. But I am a war hawk, but I think our troops should win with ideally no casualties, and if there are casualties, they can get repaired 100%. In other words, have almost 100% survivability rate. That's the way I think, but I am a hawk. This guy's a hawk, but I have a major beef with one thing about him. This is what burns me up about a lot of people that are in charge. John Bolton supported the Vietnam War, ideologically I suppose, and enlisted in the Maryland Army National Guard, but did not serve in Vietnam. He wrote in his Yale 25th reunion book, "I confess I had no desire to die in a Southeast Asian rice paddy. I consider the war in Vietnam already lost." Actually, if you're in a war situation, you don't really care about that. You just want to kill the other guy and survive. That's all you care about. You want to kill them and you want to survive, and you want to make some gains at it too. Because there's anything out there you can shove in your pocket that's worth something, take it. That includes a Harley Davidson motorcycle or whatever. You throw it in a Connex box and it's gone. It's yours. I've seen guys that took those things. They were pretty good. Smart. Now, I want to get on to something else. These are a couple of John Bolton statements. U.S. intervention could not be confined to Syria. It could possibly, inevitably entail confronting Iran and possibly Russia. You know what? People call this hawkish, and I say it's hawkish, but I can care less what Russia says. I think we need to take out the Iranian regime completely and totally. Totally. And that includes any other whack jobs that are in there that aren't in charge, because you got a bunch of mini Pol Pots inside of Iran too. This isn't against the Iranian people. This is against the kooks that run the place. Take them out. Yeah, police in the world, no problem. Take them out, but you know what? There's going to be some tribute to be paid in this form of oil and natural gas for that favor we be doing. That's the way I look at it. And I would not take any kind of crap from Putin or Russia. Period. I agree with this 100%. But the problem is, what I always get in a beef with is, I don't know exactly how well things are actually to the people who actually have to do the fighting. A lot of times it isn't. They don't have the best stuff, or the best training, or even the best mindset. The hell with peace. When you go to war, you're there to kill people. That's all you do. You kill. That's the game. There's nothing else. So, I don't know. I think there needs to be a little more indoctrination. I always had the right mentality, but I was even considered extreme in the military. But that's just how I think. We should also, he goes on to say, we should also announce our withdrawal from the new Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, the Arms Control Treaty, and our utter disinterest for negotiations to prevent an arms race in space. Let Moscow and Beijing think about that for a while. You know what? This is actually something on the surface that should not be said like that. But I know for a fact Russia's been cheating on this thing for decades. As a matter of fact, it's been alleged many times, but there's a lot of information that's been coming out since the 90s the 90s, not even talking like last year or the year before, that money that was being given to Russia to dismantle nuclear weapons was actually being used to produce better equipment, better nuclear weapons, and upgrade their nuclear weapons. Sure, it'll dismantle things that are obsolete. Big deal. Once it's got its useful life is getting to the point where it may not be reliable, they'll get rid of it. But they're getting paid. They're getting paid to do that. So I got a major problem with that. You know, I actually agree with John Bolton in a lot of ways, but I also see this part about him. He's got no desire to die in a Southeast Asian rice paddy. Well, you know what? This is one reason I really have a problem with civilians running the military. That is one beef I have. Because they don't want to do it, but they'll tell everybody else to do it. Screw them. I agree with him as far as his hawkish stands are, but I totally disagree with him in what he's really about. He would never do this in a million years. Now, I want to point out something about Russia Today. You know, I don't really watch that show much. I subscribe to it. And they got a couple of females on there giving reports. Lauren Lister. And sometimes I try to listen to this garbage, and I can never get through it because I get aggravated because basically she's a dumb bitch. That's all I got to say. She's dumb. Same with Alana. I look at this crap and I see what it is, what it's supported by, is a bunch of freaking dorky guys saying, oh, she's so hot. Well, you know my answer to that shit? Here you go. Put some crap like this on CNN and have her talk. There you go. Because that's all Russia Today is doing. They're throwing you out a propaganda line against Jamie Dimon and Lloyd Blankfein. And you know what? I would support Jamie Dimon and Lloyd Blankfein before I'd support any of those Russian oligarchs. I'm telling you that right now. They are a bunch of bullshit. You know what? If you had Lauren Lister out there talking about them, she'd disappear inside of 2 seconds flat. She's a loudmouth bitch. That's all I gotta say. And you guys, you freaking like looking at this crap like she's the greatest thing in the world. Oh, she's so hot and all this kind of crap. She's an airhead. Period. I don't care if what I'm sounding like. You say it's sexist. I don't give a shit. I really don't care. She has nothing useful to say. And what it is a little titty show. That's what you're getting on there. So here you go. CNN could put this one out as the new spokeswoman for the J.P. Morgan. You know? It's a bunch of garbage. They're playing you people left and right. That's all I got to say. They know how to play it. You know, but as far as, you know, the hawkish mentality and things like that, I just want to point out Russia has a hawkish mentality. Do not let them fool you. The damn strategy from them day one is global domination. It always has been. They have not deviated that from it at all. They're playing a very smart game. Now, a guy like John Bolton, I like what he's saying in a way. I understand what he's saying. But the fact that he wouldn't want to die in a rice paddy in Vietnam because the war was already lost, well, you know what? That's not the kind of guy that should be making any kind of decisions. And this is one reason I have a major beef with civilians running the military. Yeah, supposedly the authority is supposed to come from civilians, but I'd rather have it from somebody who was actually in the military. And that's one reason I kind of respect, well, I do respect George Bush Sr. George Bush Sr. You know, too bad the guy isn't getting so damn old right now, because if he was president again, I know he's an evil bastard in a lot of ways, but that's what you need to win. The one problem I have, though, with some of these things is that when they do blow up the whole goddamn world or some shit like that, the elite are going to be well protected, because the only thing they give a shit about is themselves, and everybody else is going to have to fend for themselves. So, you know, I'm not setting policy, but if I was setting policy, I think the types of things that we had back in the 1950s would be smart. Whereas they would actually alert people as to where's the safe areas, what do you do, how do you construct things in your home that you can use, and all this type of stuff. You know, if you're really going to do this stuff, let's make the population survive it too. I think it's going to actually have to come down to this at one point in time, unless you take out the Iranian regime and you take out the Russian regime. Them too. I don't know how you could do it. I mentioned jokingly give them a bunch of weed, but you know, I know that ain't going to happen. They got to be killed. That's the only way. So I'm a total hawk in a lot of ways, but I'm more realistic, and I think a lot about, well, I think people that makes these decisions ought to make sure that the people actually have to do the job are well prepared to do the job, and it isn't a bunch of talk. And I know in a lot of cases they aren't well prepared to do the job. Either sometimes it's not just with the right equipment, but it's also prepared mentally. There's got to be a lot of indoctrination. You say that's almost like Nazi indoctrination, but well, so be it. You know, what you're fighting is the Nazis. Nazis are the Iranian regime, and you know when you got to win, you're gonna have to win. You can't be thinking about, you know, stopping to think, oh, is this right or is this wrong? Once you make the decision, you hit the go button, hit it, and that's what you do. And John Bolton, I definitely agree with him. But the fact that he wouldn't want, you know, basically he joined the National Guard in Maryland was to escape going from Vietnam. So I don't like that guy for that reason. Not for what he says, but for that reason, I don't like that guy. That's a bunch of garbage.